Welcome to the Utah PTA Pulse Podcast. I'm Mike Williams, Director of Communications. To my left, your right is...
I am Corey Fairholm, immediate past president of Utah PTA and host of the podcast. And today we have a special guest from National PTA, Yvonne Johnson, National PTA President. Introduce yourself, Yvonne.
Oh, thank you, Corey and Michael. Hi, I'm Yvonne Johnson. I'm the National PTA President. I'm actually the 58th National PTA President.
Amazing.
And I have been serving on PTA. Well, I've been in PTA for over 35 years. And I am coming to the end of my 3-year term in about 37 days.
37 days?
Yeah.
You're ending in 37 days?
Yes, at the National PTA Convention, I'll be done.
Oh, my gosh.
After 3 years.
So how are we feeling about that?
I think, it's been a very successful presidency. I believe. I feel that our board has made some very good decisions. We were able to get a dues increase, which we hadn't had in 13 years. So I'm very happy about that because that benefits our members. Then our executive director retired, so we hired a new executive director about a year ago. And he's amazing. He's great. He's works very well with the volunteers. He really respects the volunteers and the staff. And, he brings that cohesion of working with staff and volunteers together, which I think is really important. And we also made the decision to sell our building in Alexandria. We haven't sold it yet, but it's on the market. But I suspect that, soon we will have, an offer that we will accept. And those are pretty large decisions to have in one term. Yeah. So, but I think the thing that when I reflect on my presidency, I think the thing that I have, I'm most proud of, I should say, is the relationships that I've built with our states. And when I came in, there was a lot of mistrust, and I've really tried hard to have our states trust us and build that relationship because people see National PTA up here and unapproachable. And Corey, you know this. I'm very approachable. I am, as Bill, the next person who's going to be president says, I'm freakishly responsive. So I try to get back to people. It doesn't matter.
It does. It only takes like a couple minutes.
In a local unit, in wherever, if you email me, I respond to you. And so I think that really creates a matter of trust and builds a relationship. And so that, I think, is what I'm most proud of. And of course, my passion is advocacy, and we've had some amazing advocacy wins in this last 3 years. And, we've adopted some great position statements. We're in a tough political time right now, so staying grounded in what is the most important thing, which is our mission and our values. That's how we move forward, and we stay grounded in the work that we do.
And that's great. So 37 days you've done, and
it's so crazy.
And you are the first president who has served 3 years.
That is correct.
Under your term.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing too. That is a long time.
It is a long time.
So retirement, what does that look like?
So I actually have a paying job. So I'm looking forward to maybe paying a little bit more attention. I do work around school boards, maybe kicking up some work there a little bit. I've been appointed already to a gun violence prevention board in my state, which I'm very excited about. I was appointed in January, and so I'm looking forward to being able to contribute more there. And to be honest, I'm looking forward to having a summer where I can sit at the pool, read a book. My daughter's looking at buying a house right now, and we're working on that. We're going to go on vacation. My dog passed away in July, and we haven't been able to. I know I'm still not even over it, but
I can understand.
Yeah, it's heart-wrenching. I see his picture on my phone every day. But I think we'll probably adopt a new puppy, and spending some time with my grandson, who has been very patient while Bubby PTAs 24/7. That's what he says.
So now you can spend time with your family, and well, thank you for what you've been doing and the time that you've put in it, because you have been an amazing leader, a mentor to me, and I think you've done an amazing job because I've learned so much. And like she said, when I call with a problem, you're right, respond back, and it's amazing the response and the time that you spend to get back and support the locals and the state PTAs.
Anybody.
That's great.
I appreciate you saying that.
No, seriously. she has been very supportive, and I've learned a lot from you. So I appreciate what you have taught me and what you've taught all the other presidents.
Well, I appreciate everything.
I feel like some of the things that she's taught you and Julie too have been like transferred to our board, and we've had some of those discussions on what they've learned from you too. So you're not just touching them, but you've touched our whole board as well too. So
thank you for saying that. I think it's really important. I just did a class on succession planning yesterday, and it was very packed. And I think that one of the things that, the questions and the responses that I've gotten so far from that class is that people really aren't thinking about what's down the road, right? What is that leadership pipeline? And that's just such an important thing for PTA leaders, because we all have, capacity is always an issue. We have the same people doing all the work, and this is at every level. People, like I said, you see National PTA is up here, and you might be a local and you don't think we're attainable, but we are. And we want people to know that. We want people to know that we bring the connection. We want you to take it. You're a member. When you are a member of a local PTA, you are also a member of the state and the National PTA, which means all the benefits, such as our programs and our grants and our advocacy platform and everything that we do. And I think that's something that many PTA members don't know. I can tell you, when I was a local leader, I didn't know there was a state PTA, let alone a national PTA. Yeah. So I think that is something that we really want people to know, because that does bring the connection.
No, it does. And I mean, I was telling Howie yesterday, it's like we are an army of parents, and it is so impactful to see that army on the national side, the state side, and at the local. And we are all doing something at all those levels to make an impact for those children.
Right. Exactly.
And they needed that, the national, because we need to work with the legislators there and make sure, and all of the sponsors, and what they are giving to the local PTAs. And like you said, the grants and the resources and the programs.
I love all the programs.
It's amazing.
It really is. And we're really fortunate. We have some amazing sponsors. We've been able to do a lot. I've been very fortunate. I got to go to the White House several times. One thing we did was Walmart bought, for its teacher appreciation, this was 2 years ago, they're one of our very large sponsors, and they bought like wellness baskets for one PTA in every state. So with the state president, I reached out to them and I said, can you recommend a PTA that you think should have this? And then they were all on display at the White House, and the First Lady had a luncheon, and I got to bring 3 people with me. So I picked, like, of course, someone from Delaware, somebody from Maryland, and somebody from Virginia. And we went, and Walmart was there, and the First Lady, I was going to say Jill because I know the Bidens, but so the First Lady signed cards for every one of those schools, which was great. And then the governor's spouses were there, and we had a lunch, and it was wonderful. And the president came in, and he talked to all of us. I have a picture of course, I have 100 pictures, but I have a picture of him literally standing in front of our PTA tablecloth, which is very cool. And I've had some great opportunities. I've served on many different, committees, and like a gun violence prevention committee for the country, nationwide, which was awesome to bring our perspective as PTA to the table and what we believe in, and that was great. And we do a lot of work around mental health supports and food insecurity. I got to be on a panel for FRAC, which is the nationwide organization that makes sure that kids are eating. And that was amazing, because it is shocking to think that in the year this was in 2024, but in today's day and age, that there are children that don't eat and they can't learn if their stomachs are empty. And so that was great. I've just had a lot of great experiences. I've been on the National Teacher of the Year selection committee. That's amazing to watch what our educators are doing out there. And so, I've been very busy, and people are like, oh, you're going to have so much time on your hands. But I'm not one to really sit back and not do stuff.
It opens up other opportunities.
You have to ease yourself out too. You can't just quit everything and then.
Well, I think it's important as leaders that we know our place. If Bill needs me, he knows where to find me, but I won't be forcing myself upon him, because that's not good for leadership growth. I'll still be on the endowment committee, because that's the immediate past president, that's the role. You serve on endowment. And I am looking forward to that. Your life is not your own when you're the National PTA president. It really isn't. Yeah. You are at the beck and call of people, and you don't have to be. That's just how I did it. That was the way I handled the role, right? Being responsive, being there, people knowing that they can count on me if they need. We can't tell anybody what to do because you're a separate 501c3, but to be there to support someone when they even sometimes just need to talk. Corey knows, I'm very proud of my governance team, which Corey is a part of, and we work really hard, but everything always comes down to one thing, and that's the mission of PTA and doing, making sure that children get what they need in schools, empowering, engaging families and communities to advocate for all children. It's a real
powerful, and it's a powerful statement.
And every single committee I've asked them to start their meetings with the mission and the values. I do it at every board meeting. I did it when I did my workshops here. I always start with that because it keeps us grounded. This is why we're here. This is what we're doing. And PTA is about relationships and connections. And I'm very excited for our upcoming convention. It's my first as president, the only in-person one I will have because we've been virtual.
Yeah, I know. We've been virtual for
we
last
have
3 years.
Since COVID, we had a convention in 2019. No convention in 2020 was our first virtual, and then 21.
Yeah.
And then we had
one in 2022.
In 22, that was our 125th. That was in person, and we haven't had an in-person convention since.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting. We'll be in Pittsburgh, I'm really looking forward to being in person. So
it's gonna be great to be.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Are you going, Corey?
I am.
I'm so sad I'm not.
I'm going.
You're not either. Also,
I think it'll be great.
It's like the 1 week that my whole family had nothing, so I
made a vacation. Yeah. It's at a time where kids are getting out of school and families are going on vacation because they're done with school. So it is, but we have to have it close to the end of the fiscal year because when July 1st comes, it's the beginning. But we do the gavel. The minute the gavel goes down, the new people start. There's no transition. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you started, long time ago.
35 years ago.
35 years ago. Okay. Okay. What's your why? Why'd you start?
Oh, okay. So this is a good story. And I have a recent story to share that connects to it. So when my son was in kindergarten, I'm Jewish, and I kept him home for a Jewish holiday, and he came home the next day, and he had an unexcused absence, and I'm from Long Island, and I never heard of such a thing, so I called the school. I said, my son stayed home for Rosh Hashanah, and they were like, well, we don't recognize that as a holiday. I'm like, what? I'll be right there. So I went over to the school, and I was talking to the secretary. School secretaries are your best friends. They know everything. Of course, I didn't know that at the time, but I just said, I don't understand this. And it was an amazing principal at that school. I remember Chuck Hughes, amazing guy. And he, they said, if you really want to change this, which we agree with you, but we can't just he can't just have an excused absence. You should get involved in the PTA. And I remember PTA growing up with my parents were involved, but they always were raising money. Like it was never, advocacy wasn't a thing. So, but it's not that I didn't advocate before that, because I think you probably could tell. I'm a passionate advocate, and I've always been one to stand up. I was always on student council, even in college and all that. So I joined the PTA, and I started very slow. I was a homeroom mom, and then I started to go to the meetings, and they started to talk about this thing called neighborhood schools, and I'm like, what is this? And I said, let me get involved in this, and they taught me how to use my voice. And I started to have coalition partners and, found out that there were other people, teachers and others that were concerned about this, and so we had law changed. And now it's a day off. So it went from nothing, an excused absence, and then a day off. And for teachers, it's also, we want to make sure that educators also can do it.
Okay.
And so I saw that my voice counted really early on. So I just really got involved. And then I met this, got very friendly with a superintendent in another school district, and they started this thing called school choice, which I had never heard of either, because you just went to the school closest to your house where I grew up.
Yeah.
And that was the Neighborhood Schools Coalition, and I met other advocates, and I remember I used to prepare. I remember the first time we went to the House Education Committee meeting in my capital with this group of friends. We used to call ourselves Advocates for Children's Education, and we literally would prepare for a month before we go. Now I go, I'm not even prepared. I walk in, I go, I'm sure I can talk on this. And then I sign up for public comment. So you get it. I think advocacy and being a good not everybody can do every role. Like, I'm a good speaker. I'm passionate. But the people who support you in the background, that do the technology, that do the research, they're all very important too. You go to your school board meeting, you speak in public comment. Not everybody's comfortable with that, but the people who stand up with the same colored shirt to make a statement, they're important too. So I think recognizing that everybody's contribution to an advocacy campaign is very important, because everyone brings something different to the table, and that's what makes it successful. And of course, coalition partners. So anyway, I got the bug, and then I joined the state PTA. I became a local leader, and then I joined the state PTA. I was a region VP, then VP of advocacy, and then I became state president. And so, and then when I was done with that, I knew that it was 2 years, and then I applied for a national PTA committee, and my first committee was field service, and Rose was on that with me, but we knew each other from a Gates grant. And then I applied for the board, and VP of advocacy, president-elect. I never in a million years thought I wanted to be president. I remember when I was VP of advocacy, somebody called me and said, "Are you going to run for president-elect?" And I said, "You must be on drugs. I am not."
What are you thinking?
I'm not doing that.
I mean, it's a big job.
And it's like, you have to do it. You have to do it. And I talked to my husband about it, and he's like, "Well, you can do anything you set your mind to. First of all, you can't do this job without the support of your family."
Oh, I fully agree.
Like, my daughter's looking to buy a condo or a house or something, and she's like, "I'm going to go this weekend." And I said, "Okay, that's great. You can FaceTime me." She's like, "I would like to be going with my mother." So, like, I can't. I'm coming home tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no way that can happen. And that's the thing that makes you feel sad, like your own child wants you to be there. You want your grown child to say, "I need my mom there." But you know what I'm saying? It's like, and I miss a lot of my grandson's baseball games and football games. My husband goes, and it's always his Bubby PTA. Like, he knows. He's 10. PTA's been in his life, his whole life, because I've been involved in PTA. But I don't regret a single moment. I think it's been very rewarding, because when you get something passed in a legislature, or you have a victory with advocacy, or you see that you've made a difference with social media, the guardrails around social media, and being able to help families navigate that, or you're helping families. We gave $1 million worth of grants out for the programs and grants I mentioned. We gave just under $500,000 out to local leaders, local PTAs, to help food insecurity. Like, these kinds of things, that's what makes it worth it, when you see that you've made a difference.
And I think that's so important. But I love how you talked about how there are other people. It's like a team.
Yeah.
And we're all working together. And we're all bringing different aspects and talents and stuff.
There's no me in PTA.
No, it's a team.
Right.
And it's totally a team.
Mm-hmm. And the reason I mentioned about that, I had a current story, is that National PTA has been trying to do an event in my state since I became president. I mean, we're not very far away, right? It's a 2-hour drive. And so I was at the office in April, and they said, "We're going to do a teacher appreciation event at a school. What school would you like to do it at?" And I said, "Well, I'll ask Kelly. Kelly's the state president." And she had criteria. She looked up the lowest budget for teacher appreciation is who got this. And it happens to be the first PTA was ever involved in. So last week, during Teacher Appreciation Week, everybody came in. Walmart came. They sponsored. It was amazing. And they gave $10,000 to this. It's a Title I school, to the staff. It was
amazing.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was so good.
10,000.
And this was where I had my first start in PTA, was at that school. So it's just full circle.
Full circle.
So
It
was so cool. And the leadership in that school has really grown. And it's a very tiny school. It's like 300 students. She's really increased her membership. She'll be at national convention. I have my eye on her for state. Like, I'm very good at volunteering people.
She is.
I mean, I feel like that's fine.
Yeah. Voluntold, yeah. But that works sometimes, right?
But it's interesting when you see things come full circle that way.
Yeah.
That's great. And that's impactful.
So much. Yeah. That's wonderful.
That is very impactful. I think that's just so impactful. And
I think people have to, I have this saying, I'm sure people have seen it, never underestimate the power of a parent's voice. And the truth is, it is so true. It's not just words. Your voice counts. Your voice counts every time you talk to a principal about an issue in your school, or you are helping a kid in the school, or you're talking to leaders, or you're talking to your governor or your elected officials, or if you're just having a conversation at the PTA meeting. Your voice matters, and you should never be silenced. Do we have to compromise sometimes? Yes. We have to collaborate, we have to compromise, and we have to work together, because at the end of the day, the goal is always to make sure every child's potential is a reality.
And a lot of times when we do go and talk, then there's that understanding, and we come to an agreement when we talk it out, and when we are able to talk it through.
Right.
And then if I'm an upset parent, and I understand what's happening, then we're able to talk it through and we can find a solution.
Yeah.
And that's what's so important. And that's why advocacy is so important.
So important.
Because if I sit back here and I don't do anything and I just let it stir up and get angry, then it's not.
Well, you're not seeing, you're
not making progress.
And my grandfather taught me, when you see something, say something. You shouldn't stay quiet, right? This has always stayed with me, my whole life, really. I'm not a shy person. I'm an extrovert, and there are people that aren't extroverts. And I think recognizing that people bring different things to the table, but we're all valuable.
Yeah.
It's a very big key to leadership.
Yeah.
And I think people don't realize they're probably already advocating. They just don't realize that they are.
They are advocating.
Like if you're talking to your principal and say, I heard something in the lunchroom, and you're telling them about an issue, that's advocating, because you're speaking up for others, right? Or if you're, at a school board meeting and you go to the public comment and you say, you talk about something that you saw, that you're advocating to that school board, that body, that can be a decision maker. So I think people don't realize that even when you help a parent, say, parent is navigating the education space, maybe a special need or whatever, and you're giving them advice, or you're saying, oh, I know someone who can help you. Let me connect you. That is advocacy.
That's advocating.
And that is what is, and one thing, if I get nothing else out of this podcast, is that for the listeners that I want them to know is, National PTA is not in some office on Capitol Hill that's unapproachable. They want to help. We are an association. We are one PTA. We are a family. We are together. And we have different levels, but nobody's more special than the other. And we are approachable. And that's the one thing that I want people to know, is that we are not an unapproachable body. Our executive director is approachable. The president, myself, is approachable. I know Bill will be approachable. And I think and we have a board, and they're always very approachable. So I think that it's important for the listeners to know that we're not just somebody that, is not supporting. And the things that the PTAs could be taking advantage of are all these wonderful things at pta.org that you can do. Like our PTA Connected programs are phenomenal, and they're all about educating families on online safety. This is a big thing right now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And it's changes with AI. We just adopted a new position statement on AI, and it's evolving. And that's why we did a position statement instead of a resolution, because a position statement can be amended, at a board meeting,
easier.
right, rather than a resolution where you have to wait till your annual meeting. So it's important that people look and see what our positions are, because you can use those. If we have a position at National PTA on something, it can be used to advocate. Like, I've learned everything I can learn about trust land since I got here. It was something I was interested in. I was just talking to Corey about how our resolution is very dated and it needs to be updated, and she should submit something to the resolutions committee, or somebody should.
We got to work on that, Angelee.
Update it. Because we want it to be current.
Yeah, we need it to be current.
It's over 15 years old. It could be even more than
that. And the trust landscape is very different.
Right. And exactly. And it's something that, if it's important to your state, that you should be focusing on that. You know, that's an important thing.
Yeah.
I have that.
Okay. Well,
is there anything
and
else?
that's important. I mean, that's what I think is important. And I always say, you know, PTA, we do things for the kids, but PTA also develops strong leaders. And I mean, when I started, I was, you know, a local president, and I was scared to death to say anything. But now, because
you found your voice.
Yeah, found my voice. And that's what I think is important about PTA, is we are developing these leaders to be stronger advocates, to make sure these kids have a strong future.
100%. And you know what else? PTA gives you skills that you can use outside of PTA.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
It's
I don't know about anybody else, but I never even heard of Zoom until COVID. I now can change websites. I never could do these things before.
Oh my gosh, I understand.
It builds relationships. PTA is about relationships, and I've made some amazing friends, lifelong friends, that I'll always be
across the
friends
United
with.
States.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a really, you know, it's a great thing to be part of. And so everybody should join PTA, and you can go to the National PTA website and join any local PTA. Everything's listed right there. You can be a national supporting member. Its membership means something.
Oh, it does. And I think that's what's so valuable, is people don't understand that.
Right.
But by joining and being a part of PTA makes our voice stronger.
Exactly, because
that's what we need.
The more members we have, the larger our collective voices are. When we go to members of Congress and say, we want to keep the funding in place, we actually want more funding for Title I, for IDEA, and for the other programs that are federally funded, because we want increase in family engagement centers, right? We want these we want school safety to be a priority and more funding to be allocated for that. And this is what we do. And the more members we have, the more they'll listen, because they care about their constituents.
Well, thank you so much
Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for coming to Utah to be
It's been
part of
wonderful.
the national thing.
It's so fun to have you here. And
I'm like, what are you doing?
Just want to dance with you guys.
Okay. Oh, did we
You
tell
didn't
you we
dance,
get
so-
to dance? At the very end, we get to dance.
I danced last night, and he videotaped me, and he already posted it on the Utah Facebook
Believe
page.
me,
I
we
saw
know. We
myself.
know.
Oh,
you saw yourself?
Yeah, well, did you see us on there? Yeah, did you see us jumping?
The
Oh,
slow
yeah.
motion is fantastic.
Yeah, hilarious.
I love it.
Go to Utah PTA's website, or Instagram.
Facebook page.
Facebook.
Oh, we're on Facebook.
It's all fun dancing.
And you'll see Angelee and Corey and Michael dancing. Oh, and Yvonne dancing too. So come watch us.
There.
So now we're the pros at dancing. So here we go. You ready? Thanks for coming, Yvonne. Let's go.